It is an absolute disgrace that on September 7th, Gilbert Burns, the 22-fight UFC veteran, is going to have to battle for his ranking at the UFC Apex against one of the best prospect contenders in the welterweight division in Sean Brady, who has one loss to the current champion. These guys are going to fight, massive fight, for the welterweight division at the UFC Apex. How is this not a fight night? It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace, man. But at the end of the day, it's a good card for an Apex card. It is A tier. But it's at the Apex, man. I just don't get it, man. But these are some early picks. We're going to go through the card. We're going to talk about it. I'll give you my early leans. We'll break it down a little bit. But we got some good fights on here. You know, for an Apex card, hold on. Look at what is up with that tattoo. That's wild. Also, look at the cauliflower ear. Good Lord. Them boys know how to grapple for sure. Some solid fights. Main card is really solid. You know, you got decent co-main event there for a women's fight. Got Mean Steve, Kyle Nelson, flyweights looking good. Trevor Peek in action. We're looking solid. But we're going to start at the bottom of the card. We'll give you a little bit of a breakdown. We'll give you an early pick, but these are not my official picks. People have been asking me all week, what do you think about the next UFC card? Who you got? Here's the video where I'm going to talk about it. First up, we got Zigomantis Ramaska and Nathan Fletcher. This fight was supposed to happen last Saturday. Looks like they pulled it at the very last minute. Hate when the UFC does that. But it was a matchup that I was looking forward to. I mean, Ramaska, if you watch this dude fight on The Ultimate Fighter, dude's a dog. An absolute dog. He only had one fight on the Ultimate Fighter. He won it, and then I think he had an injury, maybe I think it was like a broken orbital or something, because he got into an absolute scrap. He was beating the piss out of this one guy. Last name ended with an OV, which was very impressive, but he beat the piss out of him, took a big right hand, nearly got knocked out, and then just continued to beat the piss out of him for the rest of the fight. Crazy, crazy pace. Just all violence all day from Ramaska, which I like. But he's taking on Nathan Fletcher. Nathan Fletcher is a solid all-around fighter. This dude lost to Khan Offley in his first fight on The Ultimate Fighter, which does not age very well because Khan Offley looked terrible against Myron Santos. And Ramaska was supposed to fight Myron Santos, so maybe if that happened, he wouldn't be here. But we look at Nathan Fletcher. He's a decent all-around fighter, solid stand-up, but his go-to is going to be the jiu-jitsu, get you to the ground, or just find a scramble, try to find your back, and put you away with his jiu-jitsu. You could kind of relate him to a Paddy Pimblett, but a Paddy Pimblett without the aggression on the feet. Paddy's a pretty aggressive dude when he's on the feet. But then his bread and butter is once the fight hits the ground, he's got really solid jiu-jitsu, really solid subs. So Nathan Fletcher's going to want to get this fight to the ground pretty quickly, and Ramaska is going to need to keep the fight on the feet because I think if he gets taken down, he's probably going to get subbed. I don't think Ramaska's ground game is that great, but on the feet, he's going to throw a lot at you, and if you're not ready for that, it might overload you, and you can get caught. And it's a slow death because he could knock you out with one punch, but he's just going to keep the pressure on you, stay in your face, throw a bunch of kicks, throw a bunch of punches. He's going to swing for the fences to try to get you out of there. I kind of like it. There's one thing that scares me is, you know, he's throwing so hard, Fletcher's just got to duck under, shoot in on the hips, get him down to the ground, and then he's in his realm. Originally, I was on the Ramaska side. And I'm kind of thinking about changing it. I don't know why they pulled this fight off from the last card, but I did see that Nathan Fletcher had staph on his arm at the weigh-ins, and it looked like Ramaska had staph on his torso at the weigh-ins. So I think both guys might have had staph. Not sure if that's going to play in here. But for an early pick, I mean, it's kind of not really an early pick because we saw this fight was supposed to happen last week. But I'm going to stick with Ramaska. But it's a little scary because, you know, if this fight hits the ground, you know, Nathan Fletcher, I think he could probably lock something up. It's a violence bet. Not a bet, but a violence play for sure. It's going to be a crazy fight. I can't wait to see it. I'm really pissed that it got taken off last week's card, but I'll take Ramaska for an early pick. Up the card, we got Andrade, Petroski, Budka. It's Budka. Did not look good. in his UFC debut because he really struggled to take down Cesar Almeida. And in the next fight that Cesar Almeida had, he was getting taken down with ease. And Dylan Budka is supposed to be this really good wrestler because outside of wrestling, this guy ain't got much. So his wrestling looked a little bit fraudulent in his UFC debut. Andrade Petroski, everything looked fraudulent after that GM3 performance, which he won. But he looked like his gas tank was not looking very good. Then his next fight out, he gets sparked by Michel Pereira in the round 1, and then he takes on Jacob Malkoun. He gets knocked out by a hip bone, not looking good. And then his last time out, he had a solid performance against Josh Fremd. Didn't show any signs of cardio declining, even at elevation. Good stuff from him. His back was against the wall. He knew he needed a win. He got it done by any means necessary. He took him down. Controlled him on the ground. I can't really remember if he threatened with many submissions, but it looked like he was the better wrestler. He knew he had to get a win that way. And he got it done. 3-round decision. Pretty easy, 30-27 for him. So it's wrestler versus wrestler. And I think Petroski definitely has the more dangerous stand-up. He's a big favorite here. I don't know if I agree with it that much, but I think he should be the favorite. And I think he will be able to get this one done. I think his stand-up's better than Budka. I think his wrestling's probably better. And I think his jiu-jitsu is definitely better. I think he's got a lot more submissions in his arsenal than Budka does. And Budka's just a guy that's going to try to hold on to you, crotch sniff you. It's how he won in the Contender Series. He tried to do that in his UFC debut. Didn't work out against a kickboxer. I don't think he's going to out-wrestle Petroski here, so give me Petroski. Up the card, we got Jacqueline Amorim taking on Vanessa Demopoulos. And here we are again with the Vanessa Demopoulos Apex fight in Las Vegas, where could go to a judge's decision. Those judges, they love themselves some Vanessa Demopoulos, just like they love themselves some Tabitha Ricci last week. The real difference here is Demopoulos, her stand-up has actually improved a lot over her UFC career. Beginning of her UFC career, it was terrible. It was awful. She was getting hit with everything. She couldn't really land much. She's got these T-Rex arms. But throughout her UFC career, her stand-up has improved a lot. She's got solid cardio. Obviously, her go-to is going to be her jiu-jitsu, but she really hasn't used it that much in her last few fights. She's very hittable on the feet, but she is aggressive, and the judges like that. She throws a lot of punches, and she can eat a punch. On the other side, Jacqueline Amorim, definitely, she's the better jiu-jitsu player here. She's got really nasty jiu-jitsu. Very nasty. Her takedowns, not great. But once the fight hits the ground, we've seen in her last couple fights, even in her UFC debut, she had everything she wanted in the first round against Sam Hughes, and then she gassed out. Then in her last couple fights, she's dominated the entire fight. She dominated Montserrat Cognet. I don't remember her name. The chick with the neck tat. Mexican girl that I don't think she won a UFC fight. But she dominated her, got the round 3 TKO, and then her last fight against Corey McKenna, as soon as the fight hit the ground, she put her in all type of submissions and submitted her. So I think if Amorim gets this fight to the ground, I don't think Demopoulos, even though she has some pretty solid jiu-jitsu, I don't think she's going to be able to stay on the ground with Amorim, who's world-class on the ground. And on the feet, I don't think Demopoulos is going to be able to put her in these crazy spots where she's piecing her up. Because I don't think Amorim's a fish out of water on the feet. But I think she might have a little bit of a slight striking edge just based on pure aggression and pure fucking going for it. She's a stripper. She can hit the face, whatever. She don't care. Amorim, on the other hand, she might care a little bit if she's getting hit in the face. You can look at the picture. But I think the fight will hit the ground. I think Amorim probably gets it done here. I will take Amorim for an early pick. She's just the better jiu-jitsu player in this one. I think she can handle herself on the feet. And I'm going to fade Vanessa Demopoulos in Las Vegas one more time. We'll see if it works out. She's won for me before, but sometimes she's burned me. And last time out, that was for sure when she won over Dakota. That was a tough decision to look at, but I'll take Jacqueline Amorim. Ija and Gabriel Santos. Gabriel Santos, 0-2 in the UFC. Back is up against the wall. This kid was looked at as one of the better prospects coming out of Brazil. Dangerous dude. He's taking on Ija. Ija was on road to the UFC. made it to the final, lost to Jung Young Lee, who just got knocked out by Hyder Emil about a month ago. Jung Young Lee took him to a split decision, I think it was. He took down Jung Young Lee multiple times. He was looking to crotch sniff. That's kind of his bread and butter, is trying to get you to the ground. He's got solid wrestling. And he just couldn't get it done. Couldn't land the damage to win that decision. Since then, he's gone back, picked up a few wins. Here he is in the UFC. Gabriel Santos, 2 UFC fights, man. They were rough competition. Lerone Murphy, who's still undefeated in his UFC debut. Some people think he won that fight. And David Onama in a fight where, David Onama looks like a stud. And he looked like he was winning the fight, and then he got starched in round 2. I think Gabriel Santos, no doubt about it, he's the better fighter here. But he does tend to make a lot of mistakes in there, which can lose him fights. Just getting taken down, just being over-aggressive, getting countered like against Onama. But he's an aggressive guy. He's going to go for it. I think his striking is a lot better than Ija. I think his grappling is good enough to deal with Ija. I think he should be able to get this one done. I will take Gabriel Santos for an early pick. Now we got 2 Brazilian flyweights. Should be a very, very good fight in this one. Looking forward to it. Felipe dos Santos. Very underwhelming performance his last time out. Some people think he should have lost against Victor Altamirano, where he was getting taken down left and right. Sorry for the burp. But his UFC debut is where the hype came from. When he went to a decision against Manel Kape, he had his moments. He showed he's got solid cardio. He's tough. He took a bunch of big shots from Manel Kape. And he landed some solid shots against Manel Kape as well. But at the end of the day, he lost. And he arguably could have lost his last fight against Victor Altamirano. Not a good look. On the other side, Andre Lima wins his UFC debut after getting bit, and then wins against Mitch Raposo via split decision, which was absolutely nuts. Definitely won that fight. Should not have been a split. Won that fight pretty handedly. He looked massive in there. He missed weight for that one, I think. So watch and make sure he makes weight. If he misses weight, he's going to be going in there with an advantage. You can't forget that. If you miss weight in the UFC, that's an advantage. He missed weight for that one. He won pretty handedly. Solid leg kicks, solid striking overall. And I think an underrated jiu-jitsu game, because if he gets taken down, very active off his back. We'll see if Dos Santos tries to do that, because I don't think he's landed a UFC takedown. I don't think he's going to. We'll see. But either way, I think Andre Lima might just be the more cleaner striker here. He also followed me on IG like a couple days ago, DM'd me. So I'm a little biased here, man. I think I like this Andre Lima guy. I like him. The dude got bit. He got a tattoo of it. How can I hate on that? But at the other side, I like Felipe dos Santos too. Shoot the box guy. At the end of the day, I think Andre Lima is just the more cleaner striker. I think he's going to land some pretty hard low kicks. I think Dos Santos, he's going to bring pure aggression. But I think Andre Lima is going to be keen to it. He's very composed in there. I think he'll be able to pick his shots, land some big shots on Dos Santos, maybe even mix in some takedowns. And I think he can get it done. I will take Andre Lima for an early pick. And we can move on to the meme fight of the night. Brendan Marotte and Isaac Dulgarian. Maybe they're looking at Dulgarian and like, sorry, you lost your last fight against C-Rod. We thought you maybe should have won. Like most people think he should have won. And they give him Brendan Marotte. Brendan Marotte should not be in the UFC. He got starched by Terrence McKinney, I think, in his UFC debut. And Terrence McKinney can starch people, but seems like nowadays he's only starching the guys that they just bring in the UFC. So Isaac Dulgarian's probably going to take him down, beat the shit out of him. Maybe either submit him or TKO, ground and pound him. But yeah, he's going to put Brendan Marotte in all type of bad situations very early on, because Dulgarian is a monster in round 1. He's going to get it done in round 1. If he doesn't, I don't know. That's an L. If he doesn't finish Brendan Marotte in round 1, that's an L, because he should be able to do it pretty easily. Give me Isaac Dulgarian for a pick. Easy one there. Ryan Spann, Ovince St. Preux. I don't know how Ovince St. Preux is picking up wins in his current form, but Kennedy and Nzechukwu found a way to give him a win his last time out. So maybe it's the resurgence of OSP. And to be honest, If there's one guy you can't trust, it's Ryan Spann. So maybe we get a Ovid St. Preux win on Saturday, September 7th. Because Ryan Spann might just find a way to lose. But at the end of the day, Ryan Spann is the better fighter. He's the better fighter. He's the more dangerous fighter in round one. He's got big power. He's got nasty submissions. It's just the fight IQ is terrible. He's not always the most durable guy. And his cardio is not good. So if he comes in here and it makes it out of round one, then it gets a little bit dicey. But I think round one, Ryan Spann should be able to put it on him, probably get him out of there. Because, if you have some type of killer instinct against OSP, you can make him wilt. But Kennedy and Nzechukwu ain't got that. So I'll take Ryan Spann for an early pick. I think you should be able to put it on OSP early. Probably get him out of there. If not, stick with the jab. You're tall. You're long as shit. You should be able to win this fight by any means necessary. Give me Ryan Spann. Give me Ryan Spann. To the main card, we got Rong Zhu and Chris Padilla. Very interesting one here because Rong Zhu got into the UFC at like 21 years old. Did not have the greatest run. I think he was 1-2. And then he got cut, goes back to road to the UFC, battles his way back, and here he is. I think he's 24. And he's fighting Chris Padilla, who's 1-0 in the UFC. Won his debut by round one rear naked choke to James Lontop, who we saw last weekend. James Lontop's not a bad fighter. Not a bad fighter at all. Very solid stand-up game, at least. And Chris Padilla found a way to get him down, get to his back, and rear naked choke him. So we know the grappling's there. We know Padilla's dangerous in round one, whether it's with the jiu-jitsu, whether it's with the hands. And Rong Zhu is just a fucking wild card to me. Like, I don't know if this guy's good or not. I watch his fights, and, like, he's somewhat dangerous on the feet. But these Chinese dudes, like, I just don't know how to look at them and see if they're a good fighter because they have so many fights, and a lot of them are still very young. They have so many fights. So they have these records that show, like, 20 knockout wins, 5 submission wins with 2 decision wins and a decision loss or something. It's like, okay, against who? Like, you're fighting these absolute bums, and then they make it to the UFC and they look okay. And even on the road to the UFC, it's very tough to look at these guys and see what kind of competition they're facing. But I think Rong Zhu should probably be able to get this one done. I don't know. I mean, Chris Padilla is solid, but I don't know if you're getting too high on him just after the round one rear naked choke on Lontop. You know what? Fuck it. I'm kind of leaning Chris Padilla because I don't think Rong Zhu is really that good, but he is still very young, and that's kind of where I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. Is like, he got in the UFC very young. He's still getting better. He's 24, probably finding his stride. And I think he has a solid overall game. I don't think Padilla's going to go in there and rear naked choke him in round one. I think this fight could probably go into the second, third round, probably even make it to a decision because they're both pretty tough. But, maybe Padilla is able to get that wrestling going because Rong Zhu did get submitted in round 3 against Bahamondes, and he was getting touched up throughout there, but Bahamondes is a big, big lightweight. Padilla ain't got that for him. Fuck it. I'm going to go with Chris Padilla for an early pick, but definitely one I want to look more into. I'm just not really sold on Rong Zhu. Not sold on road to UFC guys in general, especially if you got cut in the UFC your first time out, but I'll take Chris Padilla. Trevor Peek. Yanal Ashmouz. Trevor Peek is back in action. And Yanal Ashmouz is. I mean, that knockout Yanal Ashmouz had in his debut was disgusting. And he got a lot of fans from that one. And then his next time out, I think I backed him against Chris Duncan. He broke his hand. I think he broke his hand in round 1. So then he was pretty much or maybe it was his wrist. He was a one-handed fighter for the next 2 rounds. Still made it to a decision. He loses the decision. Takes some time off. He comes back against Trevor Peek. Now, Trevor Peek, it's been up and down. And that decision win he has over Muhammad Yahya don't really age the best. Last time out against Charlie Campbell, the dude's chin is just insane. The dude's chin is unbelievable. His will to win cannot be matched. So if it comes down to a will to win type of situation, I'm going to take Trevor Peek over most guys, but I do know Ashmouz is very tough. I mean, you break your wrist in round 1, you still make it to a decision, make it somewhat competitive. I know he's got the dog in him too. The problem here is Trevor Peek is a very physical guy. And his last fight against Charlie Campbell is 6 foot, strong, really solid striking, solid wrestling. And Trevor Peek was just outmatched. But in this one, Ashmouz is pretty much the same size, maybe even a little bit smaller than Trevor Peek. So I think Trevor Peek might be able to just bring that physicality, bring that forward pressure, and might just wilt to it. Because Trevor's just going to keep coming. He's going to throw a bunch of crazy shit at you. He's probably going to try to mix in some takedowns. You could throw a rear naked choke on this guy, and somehow he's going to find a way out of it. Somehow. I don't know how nobody has submitted this guy yet, but he just finds way out of submissions. I don't think it's the right technique, but he just finds a way. And I think he's going to find a way here, man. Is he the better mixed martial artist? No. But people forget, at the end of the day, this is a fight. And Trevor Peek's going to bring that fight. He's not fighting a guy that's 6 foot, way more technically skilled and solid all around. He's fighting a guy that's the same size, who generally has decent wrestling, big overhand right type of thing, explosive guy, but Trevor Peek's got that granite fucking chin. And he's just got a hell of a motor. He's going to keep coming forward. I'm going to take Trevor Peek for an early pick. As disgusting as it is, but I will take Trevor Peek. Matt Schnell, Alessandro Costa. This one should be short and sweet. I've been a believer in Alessandro Costa from the jump. In fact, I bet him against Steve Ursek as an underdog. And he went 29-28 against Ursek. A very competitive fight. And then his next time, against Kevin Borjas. I thought that sub is going to be there because Borjas struggles with the takedowns. Alessandro Costa, training partner of Diego Lopez, he's got that jiu-jitsu in his back. But he ended up just kicking the shit out of his leg and TKO him there. A good performance from him. Now he's taking on Matt Schnell, who has kind of been the body bag for a lot of these flyweight prospects because Matt Schnell's chin has deteriorated over time. But I will never forget, and I will always be thankful for Matt Schnell when he had that comeback against Sumaderchi. Because I bet on Matt Schnell there, and I bet on Matt Schnell by submission. Somehow he found a fucking way. He got his ass beat, but he did the jitterbug a couple times, but he just kept going, found his way to that triangle, got it done. Blood was everywhere. He cashed the ticket. I don't think he cashes a ticket here. I think Alessandro Costa gets this one done. He could chop at the legs. Matt Schnell does have very solid boxing, though. I could see him cracking Alessandro Costa with some of that clean boxing, but I think Costa's going to chop the leg. He's going to swing very hard on the feet. He can get Matt Schnell to the ground. Matt Schnell is a very solid grappler, but at the end of the day, I think Alessandro Costa is just stronger on the ground, too. I think it's just more durable. Flyweights, you got to be durable, and Costa, I think, is a lot more durable in this spot. I will take him for an early pick. Sorry, Matt Schnell. Brings us to Steve Garcia and Kyle Nelson. This one scares me, boys. This one scares me because I'm a Steve Garcia fan, and been a Steve Garcia backer for a while. I shouldn't say a while. I guess, throughout his knockout streak. He's made me a lot of money. But this one scares me because Kyle Nelson, he's got a decent chin, man. Kyle Nelson had this little resurgence. He's a big featherweight. Now, Steve is a massive featherweight. He's like 6 foot, long reach with big power. But he fights very, very recklessly. And not to say that Kyle Nelson is some absolute sniper, but he is a guy that's going to be throwing with you. He's gonna go in there and throw down. He does have some decent wrestling as well, but Steve Garcia has great takedown defense. He's going to go in there and swing. So if they're going to go in there and swing, then it's kind of a 50-50. Now, I think Garcia has some straight up fuck you power. And dudes just tend to crumble when he's throwing and they're getting hit and he's not. Steve could take a punch. He's only actually been knocked out once, which is crazy if you look at the way he fights. He's only been knocked out once against Marotte, up a weight class. I'm going to go with Steve Garcia for a pick, but this is one where Kyle Nelson has burned me many times. I've never been a believer, and sometimes they just make you believe. And now I'm starting to believe in Kyle Nelson because he's kind of got a boring style, but he's also dangerous, and I think he has solid fight IQ. So I don't know that if Steve's just going to go in there and throw hands, if Kyle Nelson's going to do that, but he's probably going to be looking for some type of counters. He's probably going to be looking for some clinch positions to try to drain the gas tank of Steve Garcia. Kyle Nelson loves himself a clinch position. And it's a little bit sketchy in my opinion. So I'm going to take Steve Garcia for a pick, but I just don't think you can count out Kyle Nelson in this one, and you can't just bank on Steve to go out there and knock out everybody. As you move up in the ranks, you just can't knock out everybody. So, caution yourself. Jessica Andrade, Natalia Silva. Very solid fight here. Natalia Silva is, without a doubt, one of the best flyweight women's fighters in the world. I mean, this girl has impressed every single time she goes out there. What does she like to do? She likes to stay at range. She likes to dance around the cage. And it's not really like a point fighting system, but she likes to keep her range and just be in and out. She wants to be in those spots where she pops you with a 1-2 and then she's out of there. She throws a head kick from range and then she moves. Very solid footwork around the cage. And I think Jessica Andrade has a style that could give her some problems because Andrade is a forward pressure fighter. She's going to want to go in there and swing these wild hooks, but that can lead her to being countered. And as we've seen throughout a good amount of her recent career, she can be hit. Shout out to Yan Xiaonan. Cashed in the plus 2,500 KO prop for me against Jessica Andrade. I don't know that Natalia Silva has, fuck you power, but she does have some very fast hands, and that's where you can catch Jessica Andrade. Because if you're just going to get into this brawl with Andrade is probably going to be the better brawler because that's what she likes to do. But if you can stay at range like Natalia Silva, pick your shots, look for those openings, be in and out to where you're not trading with Andrade like Mackenzie Dern was. If you're not trading with her, but you're picking your shots in between the moments where Andrade is trying to blitz, that's how you can beat her. And I think Natalia Silva is good enough to do that in this spot. I think she's sharp enough, she's fast enough, she has very solid footwork, and I think she's smart enough to come in here with that game plan. It is her normal game plan. I think she gets this one done. Give me Natalia Silva. Gilbert Burns, Sean Brady. Main event. Disgusting that it's at the Apex, but it is what it is. Solid fight, very solid fight. Big for the welterweight division. Sean Brady, very, very solid fighter. Very impressive performances last time against Kelvin Gastelum. Just the way that, the odds were very, very close, and he just wet blanketed Kelvin. Essentially just broke Kelvin down to the point where Kelvin didn't want to be there anymore. So we know the wrestling for Sean Brady is off the charts. Very solid jiu-jitsu. Can get you out of there with the submissions. It's just the stand-up that we didn't see it against Kelvin too much. The stand-up didn't look good against Bilal Muhammad. He had a long time off in between the Muhammad and Gastelum fight. Didn't really use it too much against Gastelum. So the question mark just becomes, if Sean Brady can't get the takedowns, how good is his striking? Now, Gilbert, we know everything about Gilbert at this point. We know you can't hold this guy down. Khamzat Chimaev really couldn't hold him down. We know the guy's a dog. We know the guy has solid octagon awareness. And we know this guy has power. But we also know that he's towards the end of his career, just to keep it a buck. Gilbert's my guy. I love Gilbert. He's part of my business partner, so I'm going to be biased towards Gilbert. Let me just make that clear. Gilbert is going to be my pick. There's no doubt about it. I want Gilbert to win. I'm going to back my friend this weekend without a doubt. But if I have to break this fight down non-biasly, the concerns for me with Gilbert would be the age. What is he fighting for? And then on the Sean Brady side, it comes down to, if he can't get the takedowns, how does his stand-up look? Because if he can't get the takedowns, I think Gilbert is solid on the feet, and I think he could do some damage to Sean Brady. He's got solid knockout power, man. Look at this guy's career. Look at Burns' career. Look at his knockouts. When he puts dudes out, they're out. Not to say that he's going to start Sean Brady, but I think he has, he's going to gain respect on the feet from Brady to where the point that he can't just shoot blind takedowns. He's going to have to mind his P's and Q's on the feet without a doubt. My pick's going to be Gilbert Burns because I don't think anyone can hold this guy down. I mean, he's got one of the best ground games in the welterweight division. You may not see it based on, the submission results, but for him to hold Jack Dello down for that amount of time, that's impressive. For him to out-grapple, basically, Khamzat Chimaev for a lot of that fight. Khamzat holds down everybody. Khamzat held down Usman for a majority of the first round, or the entire first round, pretty much. And Gilbert, he could not keep Gilbert down. So I don't know that Sean Brady's going to be able to keep him down. This is also Sean Brady's first 5-round fight in the UFC. Gilbert's had the 5-round fight experience. He's the more experienced guy in this spot. So I'm going to take Gilbert Burns, but that's a biased pick. I told you the unbiased breakdown, but Gilbert Burns is my pick without a doubt. I'll be backing my boy, and I hope he gets it done at the Apex, picks up a win, and can move forward and try to get a higher ranked opponent. But those are the other early picks for UFC Vegas. I think it's 97. Almost at 100, boys. We're almost at 100. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. A like would mean a lot to me. We're going to try to keep growing the channel. Appreciate your support. Comment down below your picks. Let me know. Until next time, hey, Jai Picks.